Okay, so tell me where you're at so far.
Okay. Yeah, he took control of the computer. I was like, what the hell? I don't understand what I'm doing. Okay. So Jeremy, my husband, is more like into this than I am because I haven't had a chance to really do much
Okay.
with it yet. My thing would be like the templars and whatnot, and I do have some questions about that. But he has been like killing it on this, but he does have some questions. So I guess can we start from where we're comfortable, or do you want to from like the beginning?
Sure. Well, typically I have a little run through of LightBurn, like a crash course, and at the same time I check
Yeah.
to make sure some of the settings are in there. And
Okay. Yeah,
so
please. And
I'm
I'm kind of right there.
okay.
Do you want the laser on or just the
Um,
computer right now?
You can turn the laser on. You don't have to turn the chiller on, like the laser power switch. You can leave off, but you can turn the main power on so we can communicate with the controller.
Okay. So we actually, sorry, this loud. We actually hooked up with a gentleman that is just, um, like us, but he's been doing it for a little longer. I don't know if you know Christopher Myers.
Yes,
I don't know if
actually, in near Knoxville.
I don't know. I mean, it was only through FaceTime for a
I
little
see.
bit, but he helped a little, like the cups and stuff. But
Sure.
go ahead.
Okay. So actually, I just talked to Chris, and he is joining Thunder's team as an occasional agent, as a part-time agent to help assist in the support ticket system and do some of this kind of stuff. So yeah.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. Okay.
so the first thing
Yeah, he helped a
is,
lot.
yeah, there should have been a little card that came with your laser, a little gold. It's usually gold, an anodized aluminum business card, and it had some numbers on it. Do you happen to remember seeing that when you guys? It should have been attached to the honeycomb and maybe a zip, in a baggie or something.
I remember it, but I don't know where it is.
Okay, we can come back to that, but I can explain it to you real quick, and then you can put those numbers in whenever you find the card. We don't have to do it right now, and I've got a document that can help with that as well.
Okay, I'm trying to look for it now.
That's fine.
Find it here.
And have you been to our support site yet? It looks like from your search history that it didn't pop up on its own. Let's see.
I don't. Maybe on my phone as I was trying to.
Oh, okay. So what?
I don't. I'm looking for the card, but I don't.
Okay, you can put that in a little bit later. I've pulled up a support document about that, and
Okay.
I can walk you through what it entails real quick. It's quick and easy. It doesn't take long. But at some point you really need to put that in there so that you'll get the best engraving quality. So,
I think
Ryan, this is Jeremy,
Hey.
Christine's husband. I got a question for you.
Sure.
With those cards, are those individualized to the machine?
Yes.
Or are those the same numbers for every card?
No, that is the personality of your machine. All of these machines, no matter if you buy an epilogue or whatever, have have some mechanical backlash because of gears and belts, and they stretch more in one direction than the other, inertia, all that good stuff. So yeah, these are specific to your machine and your machine only. And the factory prints those out so they're easy to enter. So the first thing you need to remember when you're doing any settings changes, especially dealing with technical support, all of our dimensions are in millimeters. So we need to switch to millimeters before we enter these values in. So then all we have to do at that point is take the first one, which is 200, and we'll just enter what that value is that is next to 200, and then we can.
It's 0.055.
Okay. And then we'll add another, and you should only have to do this once, and I'll show you about how to back things up in just a little bit. So we'll go 400.
The next one is 0.09.
Okay.
Now, are these going to be saved, or is this? You
Yes.
said it'll be saved, right?
Yes, these settings should stick, and there's a way to back them up just in case. Okay. And the value for 600?
The 600 is 0.11.
Okay. And
The next one is 0.125.
okay. And does the last one say 1,000 millimeters, or does it say 1 meter?
1 meter.
Okay. I asked them to change that because that's confusing. The first time I ever did this, I put a 1 here, but it's 1 meter on the card and it's millimeters here, so you have to get that part. So that's, but yeah, again, you don't have to worry about that after this. But okay, and
then 0.1.
0.1. Okay.
0.1. Yeah.
All right. So we've got those entered, but we still need to enable them. And after we do that, you're good. Now you can export the settings here and save them. And it may be a good idea to create a LightBurn folder somewhere, and you can save your scanning offsets, and you know, that way you can have them. And where this is good is if you want to run another version of LightBurn, you can back up your device and everything. You can back up all these settings and import them right into your other instance of LightBurn, and you don't have to go through all that. That includes the camera calibrations, the device profiles, and the whole bit.
That was under setup?
Yes, that was device settings, under basic settings. And then also we need to go in here and do this real quick. You notice that defaults to 500, but ours can go faster. So we're just going to read these values from the controller, and we only have to do that once, and now they're saved as well. So
Okay.
it looks like you have your orientation correct, and we have all of the basic settings in now. So what we can do is go into devices and select this device and export that device profile. And Nova 35.
I was going to say, if you want, you could just go ahead and do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
If you want to create it, that's fine.
Sure. And we'll just make a new folder.
That's fine. And yeah, keep it on the desktop. That's good.
LightBurn.
I'll know what it is.
So we'll just save that in there. Okay, so go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we've backed that up, and that should technically also have these settings in it. But since we have the option to export these, I'm going to do it anyway. That way we'll have it, just in case. So now that that is there, I want to make sure that they ended up in the same place. And they did. So do you have the 80 watt machine or the 100 watt machine?
100.
Okay.
100.
And let's see. Would you mind if I reset your layout, your window layout? Is that okay?
I don't care.
There we go. That's a little better. It looks like I need to, it may be my screen. I may need to refresh it. There we go. Okay. Let's go to the library real quick, and you can find that here too, and we can just type in 100 watt material, and there's your 100 watt material library. Now there's a PDF of this that you can download and reference, and we can leave that up if you like, but we also have a LightBurn file that we can download. And once we download this, I want to show it in the folder, and it went to downloads.
Well, that'll help a lot.
So I'm
That's
just
a guide, though, right?
gonna cut.
That's
Yeah, it'll get you in the ballpark. Yeah, it's a general guide, but it's helpful. And I'm gonna paste it into that same LightBurn folder. And you can share this LightBurn folder across your network or through Dropbox or something like that, and even use this on multiple computers, and still have the same settings.
Okay.
So we're going to go to the library, and I'm going to load that library. And go to the desktop. There's the LightBurn folder, and here's the library. So now you have a materials library with some different thicknesses and different materials you can use to get you started. So now that we have all that, you're pretty much ready to go. Now, here's a cool thing in LightBurn. You can hover over something like the Offset Shapes tool, for instance. And if you're not sure what that is, when you hover over it just a minute, a tooltip will come up. But you can also, while you're over it, hit the F1 key, and it'll bring up documentation about that particular function. So if you don't know what the text tool does, you can hover, hit F1, and it'll take you right to the documentation for that function. So that's pretty neat.
Okay.
You know, if you want to learn about node editing, you can just hover and click, and there is the documentation for that. So let me just go through my normal little thing, and I'm just going to make a key ring. And I don't know why I chose that, but I'm just going to say that, no, actually, I don't know anybody in my immediate vicinity that's named Angela. It was totally arbitrary. I don't know. So the preview screen, why do we not have things selected? Oh, it needs to be turned on. It's not set to output. Okay. The preview window is your friend. That'll show you exactly what's going on. So we're going to engrave that part. That's going to be a fill. And I want to make a keychain. So I'm going to just come down here and make a little circle so that we can have something in there. I'm going to switch to inches. I think better in inches dimensionally. I guess a keychain ought to be something like, I think I have a little bit of lag. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, about 4 inches. That works. We'll make that circle a little bit smaller. And I can just change that here. That only needs to be, what, 1/4 inch or something. So we'll do that. Now I'm going to select all of them. And I'm going to use the center horizontal. And that'll get them lined up. And I'm going to select this and just bring it over here a little closer. So now this needs to be a cut. So I'm going to change the color so we can apply a different function to it. So we're going to make it a line. Then when you go to the preview... Go ahead.
The line is
line is line. Cut line. Yeah. Cut, the depth or the amount of cut you get is dependent on speed and power.
Okay, but the line versus a fill. So line's just going to be literally a line that you would
correct,
cut, and the fill would be like
correct.
Full.
Yeah. So if I changed, I forget I have to close that window. If I change this fill to a line, and we look at it, then it would just do an outline of everything. Yep.
You don't want that. Okay.
So we're going to change that back to a fill. And all right, so now we've got a fill, we got a line. Now I need to cut this out. And there's an easy way to cut that out. I can select these objects and use this offset tool that I talked about earlier. And if you'll notice, it'll do a contour cut around it. And you can do something like that and even make corners on it instead if you want to give it some different look. There's some more settings, but now we just need to change that to a cut as well. And we just made a keychain.
That's cool. Okay.
So it'll engrave first, and then after it gets done engraving, it'll cut out the little circle and then cut around it. So that's
so
just
use the offset for type of thing. Okay.
But yeah, you can use it for all kinds of things, you know, to make Christmas ornaments or whatever. So here's another thing. If you're working with a bunch of different complex or multiple, you know, objects, something like this, and I'm just going to go through here and make some of them a different color just to show you what I mean. If you work in anything and have multiple layers like this in different colors and things, if you want to identify them, you can hover over this speed and power column here. And when you right click, it'll blink everything that is that color. So it'll help you identify things easy.
Yeah.
Now, if you needed to select just that purple one in the middle, if I drag from the bottom up, I'm going to select it, but I'm also going to select everything else I was touching. So you don't really want to have to zoom in every time and click on something. You know, you need to, you know, so if you drag from the top down, you notice it makes a red square instead of a green one now, the bounding box. And when you do that, it'll only select whatever objects are totally within the bounding box. Does that make sense? So it makes it easier for you to be able to select things, see? Yeah, see, if I drag from the top down, I can have other objects touching, but it'll only pick the ones that are completely in the box. But if I drag from the bottom up and make a green box, it'll grab everything it touches. So there's also the snap function. It does have snapping. Let me make sure that that's turned on. Snaps and grids. Yep. And for instance, you can select, and I can't see the pointer change on your side. It still looks like an arrow, but I think it may change to something else. Yeah. So
now it looks like a OST line.
okay, so that's like midpoint. So I can hold there and drag up here. Whoa. Let me try it again. This is hard to do on a remote session sometimes. Let's see. You may have to drive. I'm not able to get it, but if you there we go. And you can have it snap to the midpoint, so or have it snap to the corner, so there's that kind of stuff in there too. If you want to use,
That'll automatically do that?
yes, yeah, you can drag and it'll snap. Let's say for instance you want to whoops, I always draw too many things. I always need to hit escape. I forget to get back to the selection tool. I'm going to select these objects and center them vertically, and then I'm going to use one of the Boolean tools, and I can do things like that. I use the Union tool. Yeah, so it's got a full set. There's weld, Union. It's got a bunch of Boolean functions. But let me show you something else I forgot before. Let me Control Z a little bit. I want to get back to that keychain. I think Control Z will let me get back that far. Maybe. Will it? Yeah. It's doing something. I might have gone too much. There we go. Okay, we'll just take this. Let's say you need to do 10 of those or 20. You can use the create grid, and you can make multiples. So you can create an array pretty quickly. If those are going the wrong way, you can reverse direction. You can change the spacing between them. If you have objects that are, say, triangular shaped or something like that, you can mirror and alternate every other row just to make things fit better. That way you can close the gaps and make the best use of your material. It can also do variable text. So you could technically make 10 different name tags with 10 different names using a spreadsheet. So you could do like a mail merge in here with some of the variable text tools.
So you would you could do all different fonts.
Well, not fonts necessarily, but you could have different names. You could, like for instance, if you were doing labels, let's say you were doing machine labels. I think I lost my connection. I'm not able to control your machine anymore. It may be thinking too much. There it goes.
LightBurn does that.
Yeah.
Computer what?
Now also with the text, it has bendy tools built in. You can assign this. You can place this text on a path. But a lot of people just want to bend it, and you can grab this purple dot there.
Yeah.
And that way you can do things like that. Let's say, for instance, that you wanted to make a monogram or something. You could take something like this, and I'm going to make it black just so we can see it better. And for some reason, none of your layers are set to output by default, and I don't know why that is. Anyway, I'm going to right-click and duplicate that. And just bring it down a little bit. And I'm going to use the text tool again. And again, I don't know why I picked that. And it has nothing to do with Angela, because I don't know an Angela Barrett, I don't think. So I'm just going to do something like this. And we'll bring it up just a hair, not that much.
Are you using the mouse or your computer?
I'm using the keys, the cursors for some of it. You can get pretty good control with the cursor. You can hold control and it'll make it less of a movement than if you don't. So if I hold control, I get better, smaller increments. So what I want to do is something like that. And then I'm going to select this and I'm going to hold control. And then
So it's control And the that arrow keys. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm just going to drag this out a little bit more. And I think I moved it. Oop, not that far. Okay, something like this. This will give you an idea. Now I can select all these and do that. So there's also a bunch of node editing. If you click this object, I think if we go to node editing, you're not going to see any nodes because we need to break it apart or convert it to a path. So I think you go into edit. No, I'm going to go to tools maybe. Where'd it go? Range. I think I might have missed it. I don't know. It won't convert to path because it already is a path. Okay, that's weird. So I may have to. I don't see any nodes. Let me try this.
So
again.
I've noticed when I'm node editing before, I use text in it. It doesn't give me the nodes. But if I just do a shape or different shapes, the nodes are there.
Yeah. See, so I can convert this square to a path, and now I've got nodes. And if I want to add more, I can hover right here and hit I and insert one. I can insert another one and another one. And if I want to delete one, I can just hover and hit the D key and it'll delete. And then it'll give you the, and then you have better control over what's going on. And then, on the text, if you want to do the same thing, you have to convert it to a path as well. So if you had something like that and you go to node edit, you're not going to get anything. But if you edit and convert it to a path, then all of a sudden there's all your nodes. So
Now, why would you want it?
there's a lot of reasons that you'd want to node edit. Just to clean up, if you were going to trace it, let's say you traced something and the resolution wasn't very high, you could go in there and clean it up using node edit.
I see. Okay, to make it more clean.
Yeah.
Instead of it being.
There's a lot of a lot of function. I've just started playing with it myself. But there's a lot of tools in here, and I don't want to show you too much of it. It'll do tabs. It'll do crazy things. And it really good on images if you have shape properties turned on. But the biggest things are, just that overview of the basic landscape of LightBurn and how a couple of these things work. And all your settings are good, so as far as that goes, you're in good shape. There is something else. These are tool layers. These two colors that are T1 and T2. And you can use those for anything, and they're just for your reference. They don't show up. The laser does not output them. It doesn't think about them. It's just purely for your visual reference and dimensions and things like that. You can use those to.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's to help you visualize. Let's say you had a 2 foot by 2 foot piece of wood, and you wanted to draw something on it, but you didn't know what. You could draw a 2 by 2 square here, and it wouldn't factor into your cuts and layers. And I mean, it's just there for your reference. That way you can get your artwork scaled and placed and have a visual reference of what the substrate would, the dimensions would be of it, or something like that. So, do you have any specific questions since you've been working with the machine?
Yep, I got a couple questions. One, we
Oops.
added the camera.
Okay.
We did the calibration with it, and then when we first did it, it was like spot on. Like I could put something in there, do the overlay,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be like right where it needed to be. I don't know what changed since then, but now the camera is off by quite a bit.
Well, when you did the original alignment, not the lens calibration, did you do the dots or did you pick a preset?
We did the dots.
Okay. So on the second part where you actually projected those test targets, those crosshairs, and had to go hit them. Did you have that material, whatever you put that out on, did you have that material autofocused?
No.
Okay.
They told me not to
Let me show you something on this real quick. Let's see. Focus. Oops, I could spell it correctly. Where is it? The basics of focus. Okay, the camera has to stay the same distance away from the surface of the material to remain accurate, just like the laser does. So, otherwise it changes the scale. And I'm going to mute this because I just want to show you a visual reference. Okay, so the way our autofocus sensors work, they go across the bed, see? And what's good about that is when it raises up, it's always measuring the surface of whatever the material is, okay? No matter what thickness the material is. And the reason that's good is this camera has to always remain in the same position. And it always needs to reference the surface of the material. So it works perfectly with our autofocus system to maintain focus. Okay. But when you did that first alignment, if you were a couple millimeters higher or lower than this autofocus line here, then it's going to throw your camera off by millimeters. So that probably is what's going on. So you need to do the second part, where you engrave those test circles again, the test target, the pattern, and make sure that whatever material you do that on is autofocused before you do it. And then your camera, as long as you use autofocus, your camera will be in calibration. As long as the surface of the material is the same distance from the lens on the camera, you're in good shape.
Gotcha.
So we're talking about the dots, right?
Not the circle pattern. The very first part of the calibration procedure is the lens calibration, and that just corrects for any distortion in the lens. When you print that dot pattern, or if you choose the preset, if it's in there. But the second part, the actual alignment, is where you pick the scale and you laser out that test pattern, and then you have to go in with the crosshairs, and click. Yeah, that's the part you need to redo. And the material, whatever you do that test on, needs to be autofocused. And then whenever you use your camera, use your autofocus, and then your camera will be dead on every time.
Now, we don't use the fisheye. We use the stand. Because it gives me the click, and I'm like, I don't really want fisheye.
Well, no, that you're supposed to tell it whether your lens is a fisheye lens or not. And usually anything over about 110 degrees is considered fisheye. Is that a Thundercam? Did you get it from us?
Yeah.
And let me see something real quick. Let me go back to I got you in full screen here. Confused me.
I got like all the bells and whistles with it. So I got like the rotary, the lens, the 2-inch or the whatever.
Okay. Let me. I'm gonna see which camera you've got. I can do that, I think, because it'll only populate the list of cameras. I'm gonna go to Calibrate camera lens, pick LightBurn camera. And I believe the Nova 35 is a W95. So that's all you have to do instead of using this dot thing. You just pick your camera. And it is a standard, not a fisheye. So that part is done.
Okay.
So you don't ever have to mess with those dots again. Just, pick that one. Yeah. And so this is the part you'll have to do again. And the other cool thing is once you get this done, you can right click here and export your camera settings. Guess where? So that way, if you ever lose this, you can just import it right back in. The only time it would change is if the camera changed positions. If it got bumped or if the lid didn't open as far as it normally did. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Right.
Okay. Now that you're able to look at our laser, you want to see the boo-boo that I made?
Sure, let's have a look.
And me too. So,
Well, hang on, I got more questions too.
Okay.
So if we switch to the 4-inch laser, like do we have to change something in LightBurn to let LightBurn know that we did that?
No, but you don't need to use autofocus with any lens except the stock 2-inch lens. If you use autofocus with any of the others, you can crash your head. Did you happen to see the cheat sheet when you were getting ready for your machine?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, we're gonna bookmark this for you. So here's the cheat sheet, and this is the stuff about cleaning the optics that needs to happen. Like when you take it out of the box, even though it's ready to run, it's a good idea to, because that is something that you're going to have to do a lot. So there's instructions here on cleaning and inspecting the optics, and all of this stuff you're already past, because you've got it installed. But I would highly recommend you look at this, all of this focus stuff here. And then I would also look at the Thundercam stuff. But if you'll look at the heads, optics, and focus, this will go through all the lenses and when to use them, when not to, and it'll give you tips and tricks on how to use it. Now, on the basics of focus, that was that one that we were at already. I would highly recommend watching both of these.
Okay.
yeah, but we'll bookmark it or you can bookmark it.
Yeah. And if you just want to bookmark the main site, you can just, it's got an intelligent fuzzy search, so if you're looking for something basic, you can just start typing in basics and some basic things will come up. If you're looking for air assist, and you need to look at the air assist stuff too, so you don't catch your laser on fire. So, there's all kinds of information on that, but I can give you bookmarks. But that cheat sheet is the one that you should probably bookmark. That's where all the good stuff is. I try to make it in one, concise sheet. So, and there's the stuff about the air assist, how to adjust it, how to select between them. And I need to show you that in LightBurn in just a minute, and I will. And then a sequencing issue that can happen. And since we're in LightBurn, let me show you that real quick before we forget. Let's just say that I'm going to put that back. We'll just do that again. Back out. And I'm just going to put a square around it. And I'm going to hit Control A, and that'll select all, and I can center both directions using that button right there. So good enough for what we want to do. And it looks like... What's that?
Is it Control A?
Yeah, Control A will select all. It'll select everything on the workspace. And so I'm going to just make that something. All right, so let's look at the library. And I have no idea why all of your layers... you probably ought to restart your computer later. Those need to be turned on, otherwise the laser will ignore them. And I don't understand why that happens. That's weird. Anyway, so I'm going to look at the preview to make sure I've got it right. And then I want to show you about the settings. And something odd is going on. Oh, can you move your mouse off of that output toggle? It looks like I lost my connection to you again. I think that's what's going on. I don't see anything happening. Bear with me. Let me refresh.
I think it's I don't know, LightBurn does this to us sometimes.
I think it's the internet. I don't think it's LightBurn, because do you think your computer's non-responsive?
I don't know, but it won't even open up that link anymore.
Okay.
Like oh, here it is. There you go. It says you're still on. So you're on now.
I reloaded the page. I think there's an. Let me see if I'm on there. Yeah, I think there's an internet connectivity issue. I think we lost.
So what do I need to do then?
I'm gonna refresh the page and see if I think it's gonna come back. That happens occasionally. Let me see if I can get it back. Are you still able to access the internet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm gonna try to refresh it again. I may have to initiate a new session.
Okay.
Let me see if I have any other options.
I can't invite you back there, can I?
Well, kind of. I can just make a new session. You can just go to join. I don't know. Hold on. Let me see something. Let me see if.
Yeah, I got probably a really simple question for you.
Sure.
So in LightBurn, you kind of have the layout of where I'm not sure I'm using the right terminology, but the panels that you use on the right side, like the layers and different things like that. I'll try to whenever we add stuff in there, it goes crazy. Some of the stuff hides and whatnot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I and that happens sometimes depending on the resolution and what size your screen is. Now, I've got a link. Could I get you to just open a browser and go to join.zoho.com, join.zoho.com, and it should ask you for a session ID.
zoho.com. What is it? Joinzoho.com?
Join.zoho.com.
Oh God, no, I'm not connected. I said probably was me. Our internet's terrible. We only have one internet here on base that we can use. Okay, I'm back on. Let's see if it works.
Quick refresh.
What I was trying to do. It says, okay, so www.join.zoho.com.
Yeah, I think it's coming back. Oops, maybe it didn't. It may.
Let me go to my email and then just join
It's just.
Oh,
well,
here. Oh, okay. What's the ID?
The session ID is 825 597 623.
It's saying that I have to download and run the application. Didn't I do that? Okay,
Yeah,
it does it every time.
Yeah, I think it does it every time. Yeah.
Okay, it's going. Right, it's initializing.
There we
Brian,
go.
do you work for Thunder?
Yes.
Do you know, is it possible to order another honeycomb?
It is. I think the sales team would have more information on that.
Is that Rebecca?
Rebecca. Yeah, she would have that. We can get them. They're kind of bulky, so they try not to ship them DHL or whatever. They try to make them come in on the containers, with some machines. Otherwise, the shipping is crazy ridiculous. But yeah, we have had people that needed honeycombs. I need one myself. I drug my 4-inch head through my honeycomb and laid a good portion of it over. So,
Well, so I was doing the rotary and I hit test and it took over and I'm like, shit.
Yeah, you can't use. you can't use test on our firmware. It moves the y-axis because our rotaries use the u-axis. 99% of all the other lasers use the y, so that's why it's like that. We happen to be special, but yeah, that's one of the quirks in there. So let me show you about these settings again real quick. You know, the focus is important. 0.08 is good. That's good. Usually for a line interval. And what the line interval actually is when you're engraving, it's how far apart the actual lines are from one another when you're engraving. So to give you an idea, I'm going to exaggerate that and make it 1 millimeter. And if we go look at the preview, let's get our settings right. This needs to be a line. There we go. You see what it's going to do? It's going to leave big gaps in there.
Yeah.
So, and this also has to do with your beam size, you know, how you're focused. But whenever you normally focus, like you're, you know, whether you use an autofocus or whatever, 0.08 is a good number, and you were right there at that, so that's fine.
So
how did you bring up that view?
Okay, so I just hovered over that row and double click, and then you can once you're in the cut settings editor, you can go between the layers here to make changes.
Right.
So
the higher the number, the more spaced out it is. Is that how it goes?
Correct. So, but 0.08 is usually good, you know, with the focus into the surface of the material. So you should be in good shape there. Now I'm going to show you real quick how to use the library. And let's just assume for a minute that you have some, you know, 0.39 inch acrylic, and you want to cut it. So line is your cut that you want to make. And we have this highlighted for cut. So all I have to do is hit this button and click assign to layer. And if you'll notice, it changed to the settings that are recommended in the library. So now we're going to go to no thickness because we need to get the engrave settings for acrylic. And so that's under no thickness because there is no thickness. So we're going to pick fill. Then I'm going to choose assign to layer, and it just put the correct settings in to engrave on acrylic. So you just set that piece of material up to cut and engrave 0.39 inch acrylic using the library. So, and again, they're baselines. Not every material is in there. If you're going to use 1/2 inch, then, you know, you can pretty much guess you're going to have to go in here and probably either raise your power up a little bit, you know, or maybe slow down a little bit, something like that, you know, but it'll get you in the ballpark for a lot of stuff. So.
Right. Thank you.
As far as these windows and the way they look, I'm going to try something. If you hold shift while you start LightBurn, it resets everything. So let's try to add the camera back now. Camera control. That's weird.
And so it might still be there, but it might already be over underneath of that stuff. So like under the layers and library.
Well, no, it would. No, it's supposed to show up.
Yeah, it does too. And then I'll have to reset it a couple times, and then it'll come up.
See, the art library worked. Window, camera control off. Man, that's really strange.
Yeah, it's kind of like behind the library, or it's behind the cut layers. It doesn't pop to the front, and that's why I was asking before.
Oh, I see. So, yeah, but I don't know that it's back there.
No.
Yeah, it's not back there. Is it?
Redo it again.
Let me put these back. Oh, I don't want it like that. You can do all kinds of things. You know, you can dock things on the top, on the bottom, on the sides. It gives you a lot of options to do stuff like that. But something's goofy here. Let me see if I can get it back. We'll just reset it again.
Once we kind of have it set for something that we like, is there a way to like, I don't know, like permanently?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And to save the default layout that way, yeah, there probably is. That's probably going to be a LightBurn question. Uh,
Gotcha.
I can see what we can find out about that. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what to do about that. I'd first probably restart the computer. A lot of times that fixes a lot of things. And it may start behaving right. If not, you may want to go to the LightBurn forum, and you can get to that right there. And they may already have some information on that if you do a quick search. But if not, you can post here, and they're super, super responsive. So, but yeah, that's pretty strange. And I think that's all that I had, as far as my little spiel. So I don't know what you may have that you may want to look at.
Yeah, I had wrote some questions down. I don't know where she put them.
And once this hour's up, that doesn't mean that I'm going to hang up on you and never talk to you again. If you need me to come in and remote in and help you some more, I'll be happy to, if you run into stuff. And if it's a support thing, we have 30-minute sessions, or if it's on the fly, if you submit a support ticket. That's the other thing I was going to show you. You don't have to do it through this way. But you can submit a support ticket. All you have to do is email support@thunderlaserusa.com. And it'll automatically generate a ticket, and there's 3 or 4 pairs of eyes looking at this ticket system. Even in the evenings, Thunder Laser China monitors the support system. We have a couple other Thunder Laser USA agents that are doing it. Like I mentioned, Chris is on there watching them now. Wayne Rees in the UK, the Thunder distributor in the UK, he watches them mostly in the evenings. So that's a really good way to get as real-time answers as you possibly could, just by submitting a ticket. So, and then of course, there's a lot of stuff in here, but the cheat sheet again is probably going to be your go-to. This can be your whole card. This has pretty much everything you need to get to right here on one page. So,
Right. I know my wife had some questions about the rotary.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, but I forgot to talk to you about how to choose. I'm sorry. Between high and low air assist, I'd still suggest you watch the things, but I just wanted to at least show you this much. Typically, that's in these settings here, in the settings editor. The air assist, if that's toggled off, that means you're going to do the low stage air assist. That's going to kick on the low side. If that's on, it's going to kick on the high side. Now, this is a fill. Typically, you don't want as much air when you're engraving. So I'm going to have it off for this layer. Now, this other one is a cut, so we want to make sure it's on. If it's on low air and you're not putting out enough air and you go to cut, you're going to get flames. So.
Okay, gotcha. I've noticed that too, depending on how far or close the laser head is to the material. Because I noticed, like, before, just going through the pains of learning, if I was farther away from the material, it would flame.
Yeah. So.
Probably because air assist wasn't getting enough air down to it because it was farther.
Well, see, also if you're out of focus, your spot size, your beam size grows exponentially, so you create a whole lot more smoke and a whole lot more surface area, and get more flame. But yes, the air assist is probably a contributing factor to that. But how have you been focusing, or what has been your procedure to actually focus? Do you use the piece of acrylic, or do you use the autofocus, or?
So usually what I do, because I'm not really doing much other than lasering on the wood at this point, I'll just, bring my material up to, within, I don't know, the thick, I wasn't measuring it, I would get it till the dot was really fine, and I was maybe a quarter inch away from the tip of the
Okay, so
laser head there, and
technically you need to be exactly a quarter inch, 6 millimeters away from the surface of the material. That is the position that autofocus puts it in.
is that the thickness of this piece of plastic?
No. The the
No, so 6
the
is
the
0.5
the 6 millimeters from the nozzle to the material gives you 2 inches from the surface of the material to the lens. That's a 2-inch lens, so that's perfect focus for the surface of that material. That's how the autofocus works. It focuses the nozzle 6 millimeters above whatever material you put in the laser. That's how the autofocus works.
That's for wood, right? Because when I'm doing my tumblers,
No, that's for anything.
Yeah, when you're doing tumblers, you don't autofocus. You don't use that for tumblers, but for everything else, you either want to autofocus. You can manually focus, and those pieces of acrylic that came with the machine are 6 millimeters thick. You can lay it on its side and drop the tube down until it meets instead of guessing. That's what those are for.
The thick is, if I lay it on its side, it's 6 millimeters.
Correct.
Okay.
It's actually like
Now, what if-
5.8 something, but yeah, it's right at 6 millimeters.
Okay.
for tumblers, do I do it at the 10 mark?
Well, if you're using the 2-inch lens, you're always going to want to focus. If you're engraving, you're always going to want to focus about 6 millimeters from the material. Have you? I think before. Did you follow the rotary videos? Did you happen to see those?
Yeah, I tried to do it. And
Okay. Well, we can help you with that. I would probably, if I were you, look at the air assist and all of the focusing things, like very first, and make sure that the lenses that you have, you understand the basics of them. This one covers just the autofocus. Here's that overview, and that's the one that goes through the high resolution head, the beam buddy, the 4-inch head, and then the stock 2-inch head that comes with it. So I go over every one of them here, and what you can and can't do with them. So.
And what's that square-looking one? That's what's on there now, right?
What's that?
On the left-hand side where your cursor is, right?
That's the actual head assembly. I just have a spare laying down there because I use it for demonstration purposes.
And then the left one is the new one, and the right one is the one that it came with, right?
No, the one that it came with is actually in the machine. This is the one on the right is the 4-inch head, and that dark blue one is the HR head, the beam buddy.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure I ordered all of that, and I don't think I got the beam buddy. Now that we're talking about it. No, I got the 4-inch lens. And I got a little box that came separate. I'm trying to see really quick what I got. Okay, yeah. So I have the no, it looks like this is the beam buddy, actually. Maybe I didn't get the new one. I don't know now. I'm confused.
So, I've got another session in 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to cut this one off. But if you would, definitely check out all the autofocus stuff on the cheat sheet page and the air assist stuff, and that'll help a lot. And then if you want, you can submit another ticket if you want, or sign up for a support session. There's also a 30-minute one, and it gives different times. You can do the hour one or the 30.
There is other one. Okay.
Yeah, so that's technically the 1 hour one, but we also have this one, scheduling in a remote session, and that's a 30-minute one. So there's different times on different days. But if you need immediate help, just email support at thunderlaserusa.com, and it'll generate a ticket immediately, and we can go. When you go into the that system, we'll see it instantly, and we can initiate a remote session, right then if we're not right in the middle of something, to assist
Okay.
quickly. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Awesome.
definitely check that stuff out, and I can help you with the rotary if you run into trouble.
Okay.
And I would check with sales on that honeycomb. You can see in that video, maybe right through here, there's where I tore up my honeycomb. I drug that 4-inch head through it, all through
God,
there.
I was so pissed.
It,
Yeah.
it made me sick when I did
Very
it.
frustrating.
So that's
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
purpose for me making all of these videos, is because this happened.
So you don't do that?
Yeah.
I see. Awesome. Well, thank you again for your help. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And, like I said, get back with us and we'll follow up with you. Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye.